Imagine logging into your banking app on a standard Friday afternoon and staring at a massive six-figure balance. $100,000 in cold, hard cash, sitting there ready to completely change your entire life and financial trajectory. For most everyday Australians in 2026, that sounds like an absolute, unreachable fantasy. With stubborn inflation heavily crushing household budgets and median capital city rents hitting record highs, simply surviving feels like a brutal full-time job. But today, I am going to show you exactly how to legitimately save $100,000 in Australia. And I am not talking about winning the lottery, inheriting a massive fortune, or getting incredibly lucky in crypto. We are completely ripping apart the 2026 financial data to show you the exact mathematical blueprint. I'll break down the brutal sacrifices required, the income strategies you absolutely need, and the real timeline it actually takes. So, the ultimate question everyone is desperately asking right now: can an average Australian still save $100,000 today? The brutal, honest answer is yes. But you need to execute a ruthless, completely dialed-in financial system. Let's start with the absolute baseline numbers. According to the Australian Bureau of Statistics, the average full-time salary in 2026 is officially sitting at roughly $100,016 a year. That is our starting point. That sounds like a massive, incredible income, right? But hold on. The taxman aggressively takes his massive cut first. After paying your standard income tax and the Medicare levy, your actual take-home pay shrinks significantly. You are left with roughly $76,688 of actual spendable cash. That translates to approximately $1,475 hitting your bank account every single week of the year. Now, let's look at your absolute biggest enemy, housing. In 2026, the Australian rental market is violently brutal. A median house in Sydney demands $800 a week, while Melbourne is sitting at around $600. If you are paying $700 a week in rent, that is a massive $36,000 a year vanishing instantly. That leaves you with roughly $40,000 to cover literally everything else in your entire life. Add in skyrocketing grocery prices, aggressive energy bills, transport costs, and a basic social life, and the average single Aussie is incredibly lucky to have $10,000 left over at the absolute end of the year. If you are saving exactly $10,000 a year, it will take you 10 agonizing, painfully slow years to hit that massive $100,000 milestone. But we want to get there much, much faster than that. To save $100,000 in just 3 short years, you need to ruthlessly stash away $33,000 annually. That is roughly $640 a week, every single week, without ever failing once. On an average single salary, saving over $600 a week while paying 2026 living costs is mathematically almost impossible. You would literally have to live in a tent and eat baked beans for 3 years. This is exactly why the traditional savings advice is completely broken. You cannot simply skip your morning coffee and suddenly build a massive 6-figure financial fortress. You have to aggressively attack the equation from 2 massive angles simultaneously. To successfully build this massive cash pile, you must aggressively slash your 2 biggest lifestyle expenses, while violently increasing your top-line income at the exact same time. Let's break down exactly how you execute this brutal strategy. Step 1 is entirely about housing. You absolutely cannot pay premium capital city rent and build rapid wealth at the same time. The fastest way to supercharge your savings is by completely hacking your current living situation. This means moving into a share house, relocating further out to the cheaper suburbs, or, if it is an option, swallowing your pride and moving back in with your parents for 2 solid, aggressively focused years. If you ruthlessly cut your rent from $700 a week down to just $300 by house sharing, you instantly inject $20,000 of pure cash back into your annual savings rate. That is massive. Step 2 is escaping the ultimate wealth killer, the car trap. Millions of Australians are absolutely bleeding cash on massive car loans. That $50,000 finance due is completely destroying your ability to save any real money. You are paying aggressive depreciation, brutal interest rates, and massive insurance premiums. Sell the finance car, buy a highly reliable $10,000 used Toyota in cash, and redirect that massive monthly payment straight into your rapidly growing savings. But cutting expenses only gets you halfway to the ultimate goal. You have a massive mathematical ceiling on how much you can cut, but there is absolutely no ceiling on how much money you can actually earn. To save $100,000 incredibly fast, you need an aggressive income strategy. If you are stuck on an average salary, You must boldly negotiate a pay rise, jump to a new company, or start aggressively upskilling immediately. In 2026, the biggest, most explosive pay bumps come from completely jumping ship. Companies will eagerly pay a massive premium for fresh talent, while completely ignoring the loyalty and hard work of their current, dedicated staff. And if your standard 9-to-5 is completely capped out, you need to ruthlessly launch a side hustle. Whether it is freelancing, consulting, or working weekend hospitality shifts, every single extra dollar goes directly into the wealth pile. If you can generate just $200 extra a week through a dedicated side hustle, that instantly adds over $10,000 to your annual savings target. The mathematical momentum begins to snowball incredibly fast. Now, let's talk about the absolute ultimate financial cheat code in Australia, the DINK lifestyle. Dual income, no kids. If you have a highly motivated partner, the mathematical timeline fundamentally changes overnight. It becomes a superpower. 2 average full-time earners bring home over $150,000 of net cash every single year. If you can simply live entirely off one income and aggressively bank the other, you absolutely win the game. By banking a full $76,000 take-home salary, a disciplined couple can easily smash that massive $100,000 savings goal in less than 18 months. It is the absolute ultimate wealth-building hack available in the country today. But whether you are single or a couple, leaving that massive pile of cash in a lazy transaction account is a complete financial disaster. Inflation is quietly eating your vital purchasing power every single day you wait. To reach 100 grand faster, your money must aggressively work for you in the background. You need to dump those growing savings into a high-interest account yielding over 5%, or straight into a mortgage offset. Let's talk about the absolute biggest psychological trap that violently destroys this goal. It is called lifestyle creep. The second you get a pay rise, you immediately upgrade your phone, buy designer clothes, and eat at expensive restaurants. To save 6 figures in this brutal economy, you have to completely detach your ego from your spending. You have to actively choose to look completely broke while you are secretly building a massive, unstoppable financial empire. Your friends will absolutely judge you. They will wonder why you aren't booking expensive European holidays or driving a brand new, financed SUV exactly like they are. Let them happily flex their massive, crippling debt. They are violently trading their future freedom for incredibly temporary status today. You are making temporary, highly strategic sacrifices right now to completely buy back your ultimate freedom for the absolute rest of your life. Hitting the first $100,000 is notoriously the absolute hardest financial milestone you will ever face in your life. You are building massive momentum from absolute scratch, fighting against brutal economic gravity every single day. But once you finally cross that incredible 6-figure threshold, a massive psychological shift happens. The compounding interest on 100 grand generates serious, heavy momentum that completely changes your financial trajectory and confidence forever. So, can you really save $100,000 in Australia in 2026? Yes. It requires brutal discipline, aggressive income growth, and completely ignoring the highly toxic, debt-fueled spending habits of absolutely everyone around you. It is absolutely not a fantasy, but it is an absolute financial war. A war against stubborn inflation, against the massive cost of living, and against your own human desire for comfortable, instant gratification today. You now have the exact, raw mathematical blueprint. Now it is entirely up to you to actually execute the brutal strategy. Set the massive goal, aggressively track every single dollar, and relentlessly attack the target every week. Start right now, today. Open a dedicated high-interest savings account, automate your aggressive weekly cash transfers, and violently cut the dead weight from your monthly budget before you go to sleep tonight. Take total control. If this raw, unfiltered breakdown gave you the exact, actionable blueprint to hit your first 100 grand, do me a massive favor and smash that like button. Make sure you subscribe, turn on notifications, and I'll see you next time.